The real problem is not why some pious, humble, believing people suffer, but why some do not. Christianity, if false, is of no importance, and if true, of infinite importance. The only thing it cannot be is moderately important. Aim at heaven and you will get earth thrown in. Aim at earth and you get neither. If you look for truth, you may find comfort in the end. If you look for comfort you will not get either comfort or truth, only soft soap and wishful thinking to begin, and in the end, despair. If I find in myself a desire which no experience in this world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is that I was made for another world. Courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at the testing point. I believe in Christianity as I believe that the sun has risen, not only because I see it, but because by it I see everything else. If you read history you will find that the Christians who did most for the present world were precisely those who thought most of the next. It is since Christians have largely ceased to think of the other world that they have become so ineffective in this. We all want progress, but if you're on the wrong road, progress means doing an about turn and walking back to the right road. In that case, the man who turns back soonest is the most progressive. Friendship is unnecessary, like philosophy, like art. It has no survival value, rather it is one of those things that give value to survival. God cannot give us a happiness and peace apart from Himself, because it is not there. There is no such thing. There are two kinds of people: those who say to God, "Thy will be done," and those to whom God says, "All right, then, have it your way." The safest road to hell is the gradual one, the gentle slope, soft underfoot, without sudden turnings, without milestones, without signposts. Look for yourself, and you will find in the long run only hatred, loneliness, despair, rage, ruin, and decay. But look for Christ, and you will find Him, and with Him everything else thrown in. Failures, repeated failures, are finger posts on the road to achievement. One fails forward toward success. It may be hard for an egg to turn into a bird. It would be a jolly sight harder for it to learn to fly while remaining an egg. We are like eggs at present. And you cannot go on indefinitely being just an ordinary, decent egg. We must be hatched or go bad. The task of the modern educator is not to cut down jungles, but to irrigate deserts. Literature adds to reality, it does not simply describe it. It enriches the necessary competencies that daily life requires and provides, and in this respect, it irrigates the deserts that our lives have already become. The future is something which everyone reaches at the rate of 60 minutes an hour, whatever he does, whoever he is. You can't get a cup of tea big enough or a book long enough to suit me. Affection is responsible for 9/10 of whatever solid and durable happiness there is in our lives. Miracles do not, in fact, break the laws of nature. If the whole universe has no meaning, we should never have found out that it has no meaning. Just as, if there were no light in the universe and therefore no creatures with eyes, we should never know it was dark. Dark would be without meaning. A man can no more diminish God's glory by refusing to worship Him than a lunatic can put out the sun by scribbling the word, darkness, on the walls of his cell. Has this world been so kind to you that you should leave with regret? There are better things ahead than any we leave behind. 30 was so strange for me. I've really had to come to terms with the fact that I am now a walking and talking adult. Of all tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. When Christ died, He died for you individually just as much as if you'd been the only man in the world. We must show our Christian colors if we are to be true to Jesus Christ. Some people feel guilty about their anxieties and regard them as a defect of faith, but they are afflictions, not sins. Like all afflictions, they are, if we can so take them, our share in the passion of Christ. Let's pray that the human race never escapes from earth to spread its iniquity elsewhere. Satan, the leader or dictator of devils, is the opposite, not of God, but of Michael. Everyone has noticed how hard it is to turn our thoughts to God when everything is going well with us. While what we call our own life remains agreeable, we will not surrender it to Him. What, then, can God do in our interests but make our own life less agreeable to us, and take away the plausible sources of false happiness? Miracles are a retelling in small letters of the very same story which is written across the whole world in letters too large for some of us to see. History isn't just the story of bad people doing bad things. It's quite as much a story of people trying to do good things. But somehow, something goes wrong. Nothing that you have not given away will ever be really yours. Even in literature and art, no man who bothers about originality will ever be original. Whereas if you simply try to tell the truth without caring tuppence how often it has been told before, you will, 9 times out of 10, become original without ever having noticed it. Always prefer the plain direct word to the long, vague one. Don't implement promises, but keep them. Reason is the natural order of truth, but imagination is the organ of meaning. A young man who wishes to remain a sound atheist cannot be too careful of his reading. Part of every misery is, so to speak, the misery's shadow or reflection, the fact that you don't merely suffer but have to keep on thinking about the fact that you suffer. I not only live each endless day in grief, but live each day thinking about living each day in grief.